Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Be me, otherwise who else? Be 26. Work at mechanic. Have a crush on girl that go to my university. One day she come to my office. Her whole front is destroyed and a bit covered of blood. Oh shit, who she killed? MP4.
Hey Anon, I need help.
Usually level-headed, but I'm worried now. Yeah, sure, what happened? Looking at the front with a worried face.
I hit a
Not even letting finish her phrase that I already know she's lying.
bunny. I runned over a bunny.
That dent is a little too big for being a bunny.
Yeah, but those campaign rabbits.
I understand what happened. She's sweating like Putin in sauna. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid, but maybe if I help with a wrench then I could wrench her. Yeah, sure, leave it in the back parking lot. I'll get it for you tomorrow.
Oh, thank you, Anon.
Giving me a hug so tight I could feel my screwdriver poking her. The literally tool, I was wearing tool belt. She give me keys and I park it inside where no one can see. Giving a closer look to the radiator that was pretty exposed, I can see something attached. Holy shit, that's a shoe.gmp. There was still a shoe under the grill. From the size I guess it probably was a kid's. Clean all the car and repair with other pieces. I repainted the car so it wouldn't be recognized. The next morning I'm watching TV.
Yesterday night, the little boy, young Anon, was missing from his family. And no clues where it could have gone or be in this moment. If you see this kid, please call the local authority.
Shit. Knock knock. Fall off chair branding a coffee spoon. Anon, are you there? Open the gate to see Annette worried.
It's ready, right?
I give her keys and she kisses me on the cheek. She then give me a block of dollars, jumped in her car and drove away with a terrorized face. She gave me $2,000 for a $300 bill. I never seen Annette ever again at school. 2 months later I hear of a girl jumping off a bridge with her car. My crush crashed herself after crushing a kid.
Be me. A 22-year-old college student. Work at a nearby one-stop shopping store part-time. Crap pay. But it gets the job done. Customers are semi-alright. Only a few idiots here and there. Store gives out gift cards and coupons for people who buy certain amounts of items. Incoming extreme couponers. Working the cash register. Bored out of my mind. See lady with 3 carts of Tide and cereal roll to the lanes. She makes eye contact with me and starts on over. I try to run to use the restroom, but too late. She's already putting her things on my belt. I resign myself to my fate and begin the ordeal. Give customers behind her a look that says this'll be a while. Lady's a repeat offender. She buys everything to accumulate gift cards and coupons, then resells the stuff. I should care. But for less than $9 an hour, I don't care. Going through the usual routine of letting her legally rob the store. I notice she has her kids with her. All of them are noisy and hyperactive. Let my mind go to a happy place as I'm doing this. Notice the kid running around my feet. Sorry, you can't be back here. Kid surprisingly complies and starts talking to his mom.
Excuse me, Anon.
I look over and ask her what's up.
What's that in your pocket?
I usually carry my 3DS during my shifts for street passes and play coins. After explaining, I go back to wringing her stuff out.
How much does it cost?
I explained that the one I have was $150 when I got it, and let her know we had the XLs and electronics as well. Continue on with the transaction when she goes quiet. Is something the matter?
My son wants the 3DS.
I explained that I couldn't exactly leave to go get her one while I'm wringing her out.
No, I want that one.
Loading.gif.
The one in your pocket, please.
All of my what? She legit wanted me to sell her my 3DS. I can't do that.
Why not?
Several reasons.
Which are?
My god, I thought she is serious. Well, for starters, this one's already mine.
But I want to buy it.
According to her, anything in the store was for sale. In her head, that included other people's personal property. Explain politely as possible that it wasn't going to happen.
Look, Anon, I have the money.
Lady had gift cards, so if I did sell it to her, I wouldn't even see the money. Not a dollar bill in sight. At this point, forget being friendly. Job doesn't pay enough to put up with this level of crap. It's not happening. This is similar to trying to buy someone's phone as they're using it.
I can sell it back to you when he's done with it, though.
She actually tried to sell me my own stuff. My answer is no.
Then you can call your manager.
Call the manager over. Not wanting to deal with her anymore. He asks what's up. I let her explain. Manager isn't sure how to respond. Stupid customers are par for the course. But this is a new level of douchebaggery. Explain that employees' personal belongings are not for sale unless they say otherwise. Also explains that even if said employees want to sell something, they have to do it on their own time. He legit had to explain this to her. She threatens to call corporate and complain. Me and my manager exchange looks before calling security over. I thank every divine being I can think of when she's finally gone. Made me go past my scheduled break big time. So I hightail it to the break room. Elmao when we start a store blacklist just for her.
Be jack of all trades of a small company. Basically the IT guy, janitor, coffee guy, research and development, etc. On a Friday, most people are working on another location, including the boss. Have minor experience in customer service. The company phone goes off after a few hours of work. Get a woman with a speech impediment, says she demands a refund on a certain product. I'll look into it. Could you give me your full name and order number, madam? She sounds utterly surprised that I don't know out of my head which product she ordered, or what was wrong with it. It takes me 15 minutes to find her order. Whole time I have to listen to her insults and slurred speech. It's a towel, bought half a year ago. She demands a full refund, because it wasn't the right color, red, even though I can see she bought a blue one. Explain to her that you can't return products like those after half a year of usage. She demands to speak to my superior. Boss is not here, what should I do? Idea. PNG. Pretend to talk to someone else, make footstep noise, lower my voice. Yes, this is Anon. Inc., how can I help you? Lies about me, verbally assaulting her, says I said that she could F herself with the towel. Assure her, I will be severely punished for this behavior. Ask her what she initially called for. Ah, I see the order here, but it seems you bought this product half a year ago. Due to hygiene standards, we can't accept this product used. She rages and hangs up eventually while I try to contain my laughter.
Be me, security guard. Get an alarm call, motion in the basement of a haunted house of an old man. It's always the same call. Partner is busy locking up banks, so I go alone. Place is off the highway, kind of nowhere but not far. Park at some train tracks behind a gate, get out and walk through the 5-foot-tall grass 200 meters into the woods. The house looks ghetto as hell, dirty and covered in spider webs, the front porch is missing. I hear a thumping of something running off into the woods. Deer? Bear? Clown? Enter the house and disarm. Everything inside is like an untouched time capsule, everything is like 20 plus years old, some older. Like you're visiting your dead grandparents' house. Despite the outside being so dirty, everything inside is relatively clean, yet no one's lived here for at least 30 years. Walk around, finally find the basement. It has those stairs, if it were a horror movie something would grab your ankles. Nothing really down here, except an almost blood-like stain on the concrete. And 2 vintage porcelain dolls in a storage room, leaning against a wall. I'm leaving. All clear, no cause found. As I leave, the screen door rattles for no reason. I did introduce myself and compliment the spirit if it's real, so maybe that's why I'm still alive. Other people have been locked in the basement and heard whistling. I suppose mine is lame.
This is currently happening to me, and it's probably more uncomfortable than anything and a massive hassle because it's at my work, but oh well. Mid-20s, female, work at a coffee shop, trope embodiment. This one regular is homeless and a super friendly dude. He'll talk to everyone for an hour even if they don't want to talk. Usually get there 4:30 a.m. to open and am a daily opener. Coworkers had told me that sometimes he wanders around behind the building where we park in the middle of the night. Think they're pulling my leg because that's weird. Alone and waiting for my other coworkers to arrive one morning. Look in rearview mirror and he's standing and staring at my car. Just stands and watches my car for a good 5 minutes before my boss pulls in. He doesn't actually come into the shop that day and don't see him for a week, so forget about it. Opening about 2 weeks later and unlock doors right at 5 a.m. Walking away from door to brew more coffee when I hear something slamming on the glass. Look back and he's just standing there, staring. He waves and then vanishes, without coming in despite the fact we're open. Freak the hell out, but my coworker jokes and says that don't worry, there's only one of him and 3 of us. I mean, I'm sure the guy isn't trying to be creepy or anything, but I'll see him at the grocery store and he'll follow me around, talking at me while I'm late for another job or something and can't stand and talk. And then if I'm talking to another customer, he'll just stand there and loudly scold me for not saying good morning to him, even though I'm with another customer. He's super passive-aggressive with it and I honestly hate the guy. A few months ago, he asked me how my dad was doing and if he was going to get out of the hospital anytime soon. I'd never mentioned my dad being in the hospital to anyone at work.
I used to be a convenience store clerk. We got all kinds of weirdos in the store. Mostly literal crackheads and stuff. They were mostly harmless aside from stealing shit all the time. There was this one creepy guy who was slightly dumb and a registered Minecraft offender, who used to come into the store and stare at people and stick his fingers into our pies. We obviously threw the pies out. We had to actually catch him doing it a few times before we could ban him. Once a guy got really angry because the price of soda went up by 10 cents. He was flipping out, so I told him I would just give him the 10 cents today, but in the future he had to pay the higher price. Apparently that wasn't good enough because he threw the soda down, stormed out, and slammed our front door so hard that all the glass shattered. We just stared at him in shock. He stared back at us in shock, then he bolted for his truck and drove off. My coworker is like, "So, what now?" And I'm like, "I guess we call the police and tell them some guy just broke our door over soda." A minute later, a regular customer of ours comes in. He's this young guy with Asperger's who is really into mechanics and is always building little robots and taking stuff apart and putting it back together in weird ways. He'd bring some of his creations into the store to show us. He asks what happened to the door and I tell him that some dick broke it over soda and then got into his truck and drove off. So the guy is like, "Oh, was it a blue Ford truck?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And the guy casually rattles off a freaking license plate number which he says is of a truck he saw peeling out of our lot before he came in. So I give it to the cops and say that might be the number. And it turns out to be correct. They catch the dude and he has to pay for the door.
My shitty job paranormal stories are relatively mild by comparison to the rest of the thread. I used to work as a night cashier at Walmart, which, coincidentally, is a pretty dead-end job of an already dead-end career. By the way, if you ever get conned into doing it, you have to fix everything in the front end of the store when you have spare time, and there are broad spans of spare time. You might end up alone, but a lot of time it'll just be you and some other night cashier handling the front end, and sort of trading off checking out customers while the other cleans all the registers and makes sure the stupid candy bars are facing the right way. During my time there were only 2 weird events that I can't explain, but of the same variety. Night shift cashiers can get a good feel for the front end of the store since for a lot of the time you'll be the only 1 or 2 people in it. A couple of times, however, I was completely baffled by seeming violations of the laws of physics. A customer would go into the bathroom and wouldn't come out. The first time this happened to me, it was a doddering old man in what I think was a red shirt. I didn't notice anything strange until 30 minutes had passed and whoever had gone in there hadn't come back out. Since I needed to go anyway, I waited until the other cashier was around and told them where I'd be. If you're tall enough, you can maintain general awareness by virtue of just seeing over all the shelves they have at the front, and I'm absolutely certain that the guy hadn't come out. I went in to piss and only half-heartedly to check on the guy, fearing he might have died or something, but there wasn't a single thing out of place in there. Nobody. Nothing. I never thought to mention that to anyone until some months later, when it happened with a woman. Both my coworker and I noticed it, and since she was a female, I charged her with the dutiful task of checking up on her. She went in and came back out about a minute later just kind of shocked. She told me nobody was in there, and the experience with the old man came rushing back to me. I told her about it and we just kind of couldn't get over it all night long. I don't know what it is about paranormal things, but it never occurred to either of us to try to check the video footage of the store cameras. There must be some kind of stupefying effect upon witnessing the impossible that renders people useless for a while. I know that I for sure just decided to ignore it and hope it was some kind of trick of the mind. I still hope it was one. The other paranormal events I've experienced in a shitty job were much milder, and perhaps I should have started with it. This was while I was working in the kitchen of an elderly care home that specializes in caring for those with dementia or Alzheimer's. The ones who were worse off would be in special cottages behind a gate with a 4-digit code clearly printed on a sign on both sides of the gate. The doors of the cottage had the same type of system, with the addendum that if the mid-height pressure bars on the doors were leaned on too long, the doors would open and an alarm would sound, and there were 2 doors into each cottage of about 15 or 20 guests. One of my jobs was to deliver the daily meals to these cottages in a portable multi-container insulated cart to keep hot food hot and cold food cold. It was an ordeal at first trying to maneuver this thing through the doors, but routine shortly turned it into an easy task. A lot of times I would stay and talk to the nurses on duty for a short while, and sometimes would hear stories about strange things that happen, though mostly they're disgusting or just sad. Every so often it'd be something like the TV turning on at night, or the pianos getting played with no one around. I couldn't imagine having to stay all night in a facility like that, because you have the same conversations with the guests repeatedly. They just don't remember. Not to mention that some of them are already creepy and vacant altogether. That job was strange even though I was somewhat removed from being in the thick of it all. Apparently there's a superstition in healthcare fields about how people tend to die in threes. I'm not sure how true that is generally, but while I was working there, it definitely was the case. We'd go for months with no deaths, then in the span of a week 3 guests would die. Either there's something to that, or it's a self-fulfilling prediction that the guests know about, or perhaps environmental, weak immune systems plus bug going around, or maybe more grotesque, an employee taking certain liberties. That's the last of the paranormal events I was aware of there, but I certainly heard a bit about the more human-like evil that can happen in a place like that. I eventually had to quit that job all at once.
To know if this is /x/ related, but it's something that happened to me at work a few hours ago. Not sure if anyone will take an interest, but it's something that I think I'd like to write down just for my own sanity. Okay, so here's some backstory. I work a part-time job in a supermarket in a small town, population of about 1,000, on the checkouts. Last Monday there was a guy who sat from the time I got into work, about 5 p.m., and until I left, 8 p.m., sitting on one of the seats, smoking and drinking beers. I thought at first he might be waiting for someone to finish their shift, but he was there still when I left at closing time. I completely forgot about him, to tell you the truth, until I got into work earlier today and he was there again, drinking beers and smoking. Now this guy didn't come across as a weirdo at first. His hair was well maintained, and despite having a beard he looked as though he wouldn't be out of place in a normal 9-to-5 job. However, I noticed today that he had a rucksack by his feet. I thought he might just be a tourist who has nothing else to do but people watch and drink at the supermarket. That's until I asked one of my coworkers who he was and why he was out there. According to her, he'd been there for a few hours already. She hadn't seen him on the Monday. Just drinking and occasionally passing comments to passersby. He kept glancing into the store and giving us weird looks. It was only me and the girl I mentioned earlier working on the tills. After he finished his beer he wandered in and blew a kiss to the girl. We both exchanged nervous looks as he made his way over to the alcohol aisle. He came to my till and seemed pretty ordinary. He joked with a customer about how they should take their time and then turned to me, said, "I'm only having the one this time," and winked. It was until I started serving him shit got pretty weird. The moment I put his beers through the system he struck up a conversation with me. He said, "You know I work with Interpol." "Yeah, that's right. I'm only an agent at the moment, but in a few weeks I'll become the big boss. Then I'll be able to cleanse the North with bleach. I'll bleach them all out and we will rid the North of its filth. Anybody who disagrees will be punished." He said it as if it was a normal conversation, as though he genuinely believed this, all the while behaving, physically, like a normal sane human being. He used his card to pay and said to me before leaving, Do you know what my code name is in Interpol? Deanie Bond, and he just walked away laughing. I turned to my coworker and we both agreed this guy was creepy. So anyway, a half hour passed and the guy was still there. He occasionally would wave at us or blow kisses to my coworker, which we would try to ignore amidst laughs. Then my friend who works at the front of the store had to go do some stuff outside, where this guy was sat. They spoke for about 10 minutes, and when my friend came back I asked him what he spoke about. My friend told me he would repeat passages of the Bible word for word and speak about the devil and cleansing souls. What alarmed me most was the guy's claim to being God. I'd like to note that I don't think the alcohol was having this effect on the guy. He was walking perfectly straight after at least 8 beers and seemed to be very calm and relaxed. After my friend finished speaking to the guy, he went back to smoking and drinking by the table alone at the front of the store. One of my bosses came in after and I asked him about the guy and what he was doing there. My boss had no idea but knew that the guy had a reputation for being a weirdo. Okay, so skip a few hours until the end of my shift when my friend who's come to pick me up arrives. He's about to come into the store when the guy stops my friend and strikes up a conversation and shakes his hand. I shit myself thinking that my friend is gonna give this guy a lift home and we're both going to end up on the news tomorrow under the headline, 2 bodies found by roadside. Luckily my friend walks away and gets into the store. I ask him what was said. My friend says that the guy told him he claims to have been a fighter pilot and that his name is Deanie Bond and he's a war hero. Anyway, so I finish my shift and get driven home. The guy is still sat there with his beer smoking cigarettes. I think it odd and decide to ask my friend if he knows anything about this weird guy. Luckily my friend lives in the town that the store is located and has heard some stuff about the weird guy. Apparently he's been spotted around the area for the past month or so, either in the woods watching passers-by or wandering the roads. He's also been spotted living in the churchyard by this one grave. Someone actually supposedly went to check it out and found plastic bags full of cloth and a sleeping bag strewn like a hammock on a tree branch. Weird stuff. But yeah, my friend claims to have been told that this guy was seen around the town a few years ago. Apparently he was living in and out of the local pubs/hotels and got kicked out of one of them for beating on his pregnant girlfriend. A few months after that he was seen again going in and out of an old lady's house. Apparently they became close, but he since left and she passed away. I don't know if this is relevant to anyone's interests or anything, but it sure creeps me out knowing that this guy is living, probably, in a churchyard right now or creeping up on someone in the woods.
I've always hated walking around alone late at night and avoid it whenever possible. Our neighborhood is very quiet late at night, no cars, no people and minimal noise. It almost feels post-apocalyptic, like you're the last person on Earth. So one night I had no choice and had to walk home from a mate's house. It was about 1:30 a.m. Everything is okay until about 10 minutes into the walk. I hear a car coming behind me in the distance. Cars pulls up next to me, freak out a little. As I've said, I hate walking around at night. It's a Ford Territory. There's a whole family inside, mom and dad in the front, and 3 kids in the back, all under 10 by the looks of it. Immediately obvious that something is off. Their posture is perfect, straight back, arms at side, and they're all smiling at me. The dad asks me if I know where Benoa Road is, in this robotic, salesman-like voice. Tell him it's just around the next corner. Says thank you, and I swear all their heads turn forward at the exact same moment as they drive off. Feeling very creeped out now, just want to get home as quickly as possible. Turn onto Benoa Road. Oh crap, the car is parked by the road. No one's inside though, keep walking. There's a bunch of drains on the side of the road. It's at the end of a long channel that runs parallel to the road. When it rains, the channel floods and all the water is directed into these drains. It's basically the main entrance to the drainage network for our area. As I walk past, I can see the family down by the drain. They don't take any notice of me, so I just keep staring ahead and walk past them. As I doing that, they all enter the drain. All 5 of them just crouch down and walk into this wet drain, no flashlights or anything. Get home shortly after that, never been so glad to be home. Next day I notice that the car is still there, just sitting on the side of the road. It's there for another few days before it gets towed. Find out later that it was reported stolen a week ago. What the hell did I witness? Pick related, it's the drain.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.